episode of Hatter's Chop Shop. This one is a special one because it is sponsored, well, technically sponsored by Artrovo Gundam. Shout out to Artrovo Gundam for providing the Real Grade Gundam 2.0 that we're going to be operating on this evening. I'm, of course, your host, Steven, aka Midnight Hatter. And if you've been following me for any amount of time, you know that we love LEDs here. In the last 2 years, we've probably installed close to 100 different model kit LED sets. Well, I say sets. I've installed LEDs. I don't really buy like the third party LED kits. I typically just work with whatever I can assemble out of the box using, you know, everything from LED light strips to harvested Christmas lights and things like that. We've done everything from master grades, tons of high grades, a couple of RE100 kits, but never a real grade. I've always been intimidated by the level of detail in the inner frame. I've always had difficulty kind of imagining, okay, where am I going to thread the wires through, and how are we going to make this thing work? And so tonight we are going to do that. Oh, is my audio super low? Let me see if I can bump that up for us. What's going on, chat? I see Ultronomus, I see Ian, I see Taco. Good to see you guys. Thank you for coming in and hanging out with me. Yeah, I'll have to turn on my 1-900 voice for this particular stream. But I do want to make this an easily digestible stream for those of you that just want to get to the good stuff. So let's go ahead and hop into the table cam. I'm going to show you a couple of different things, and I'll talk about why we're doing this in the first place. So here we have our Gundam 2.0, and beautiful kit. I still say that this is my definitive RX-78-2 model kit, in my opinion. You know, it's got loads of detail. I love the proportions on it. There is one thing that drives me nuts, though. It's the fact that you have clear plastic parts for the lenses on the cameras, but then the eyes are plain yellow. I don't know if you guys can see that. There we go. So you can see it's plain yellow plastic in there, even though they give you clear parts for other applications. And just so that, I mean, you guys probably already know this, but like even going back to the first generation of real grades, you know, the mono eye on Char Zaku, that was a clear lens piece. And even the most recent one that I built was a real grade Epion, which has, not only are they clear, but like those, they react with blacklight. So one of the things that I thought about doing for this particular kit is using one of our wireless induction LED units. These are awesome for master grades, and I'll be honest with you, like in the master grade Zaku, you can literally just replace the clear lens in the mono eye with this, and you can't tell the difference. So, you know, that works out really well. But at this scale, I mean, this thing is way too big and clunky to fit inside of this head, especially with everything that's in there. So we are going to have to default to one of my trusty little nano LEDs, one of these little guys. And these are super affordable. You can pick them up like a pack of 50 of them on Amazon, I think. And you don't need an LED driver or anything like that, just a simple coin battery to power it up. So the question remains, how are we going to get this thing into the head? Well, let's see how we're going to do this. First, we're going to have to disassemble this thing and see how it works on the inside. Oh, geez. Losing my knife, losing everything here. Let me push the camera in so that we can get a closer look at everything. So first, we're going to have to take off the fin. There we go. And then we take off the side rails here. And like I said, this video is not technically sponsored by Artrovo Gundam, but he did supply the Real Grade Mark II, or Real Grade Real Grade 2.0, sorry. And I did put in Adam, aka Gundam Explains, affiliate code down in the links below. You can get free shipping on 2 or more kits, which is a pretty good deal if you guys know how much shipping costs. So we got this tasty little frame in here. Let's see if we can get the V-fin out. All right, so again, you see that we've got, we've got clear plastic here for the cameras, which, doesn't really do anything for us. And then for some odd reason, they decided to go with the plain yellow eyes. Now, one thing that I do like about this kit is that the eyes are color separated. It's not a sticker. And this is something that they've been doing ever since the entry grade Gundam, is they have like a little piece that slides in to the eyes, which is an extremely tight clearance. Like, can you imagine the feat of engineering it would take to design something with that level of clearance? That's insane. To me, it is. Especially the work that I've done 3D printing. I'm like, I could never do this. I have a hard enough time getting like 3mm pegs, and this is like, I think that's like 1/4 of a millimeter hole. So there we go. This is the part that we're going to need to replace. And so what we're going to do, we're going to turn to our trusty friend Silinot. Now, I made a short review of this product. I love it. It's super easy to use. It literally has the instructions on the side of the bottle. Heat it, pour it, cast it, and it works really well. The only thing I have learned is that you want to make sure that you don't heat it up too much. Now, I have discovered that if you pop the parts that you are wanting to make copies of, actually, let me see. Do I have it here? Do I have it handy? I might have thrown it away already, but I did try to make a copy of this. It is the Wave Rider parts former from the Zeta Plus, the high grade Zeta Plus. I tried to cast this in Silinot that was too hot and melted it, and so kind of ruined the part and didn't even get a mold out of it. So we tried to do that again, and this time I put the part in the freezer for a couple of hours prior to casting it, and as you can see, no problems. Now, I think that with a part this small, we're not going to get as much concentration of heat. We're going to be okay to cast this without putting it in the freezer first. It's already kind of cold out here anyway, so I'm going to show you my super ghetto way of making a mold. We're going to use a little duct tape. Typically, what you would want to do is build some kind of mold box. They sell super expensive mold boxes on Amazon. You don't have to do all of that. You can make a mold box out of Lego if you want. We've done that on the channel in the past. But in my opinion, the old tricks are the best ones. We're going to just take this piece of tape, and then we want to identify what is the flattest piece that is not going to show on the surface of the kit. Now, fortunately for us, the only part that has to remain intact are the 2 little ends on the eyes when we cast it. So anything back here is fair game. We could cast it, flat side down and have like kind of an open mold, which would be kind of an interesting idea. I would probably cut this piece off and then just cast it flat. And then what you could do is actually, instead of using a 2-part resin, you could use UV resin and just hold a little UV flashlight over it. We are actually going to be casting it this side down, so the eyes are going to be facing up. And all I'm going to do is stick it right there on the duct tape, which is going to hold it in place. Again, if I were doing a more fancy professional mold, we could, use beeswax to hold it in place. We could use a little bit of hot glue, anything that would, hold it steady and make sure that it doesn't, float up inside the Silinot. Now, I'm going to run, I'm going to run and just put this bottle in the microwave for, I'm going to give it about 30 seconds. It probably doesn't need that much. This isn't the full bottle. I actually have a, I'll be excited to share this with you. This is my jar o' scraps. So whenever I finish a mold with the Silinot, you know, I've got this little jar of scraps. I just pop this thing right back in the microwave, heat it up, pour it again, make mold after mold. It's been a lot of fun so far. But when I poured my first mold out of the original bottle, you can see that a little bit got stuck in there. So we're just going to go ahead and nuke this, and I will be right back to pour us. And while that is going, we are going to go ahead and cap our mold container here. So here we've got, this is actually a tube for, I don't even know what this was. It was probably like a thing of doggy bags for, you know, when you've got, when you're out walking your dog. It probably had like bags wrapped around it. All I'm going to do is position it carefully over the center here and press down to get a nice seal. And then there's our mold container. We're just going to pour right in on top of that. Now, if I were going to be making, you know, something a little bit more detailed, something like this, I'd opt for a more optimal setup. But, you know, I would do a much more professional mold box, because this is going to be difficult to pour into. But with a part this small, with that little amount of detail to capture, I am comfortable winging it with this. I just heard the microwave go off, so just a moment. All right, so let me see here. Let's lift this up. And just to give you guys an idea of what this stuff looks like when it is all melty. Ooh, this is super hot. I definitely let it go way too long. So we're going to want this to cool off. Because I don't know if you can see, the camera's definitely not picking it up, but there is steam coming out of the bottle, and we don't want that. That would totally melt the part. So let's see if we can maybe rapidly cool this off for us. Not so much that it doesn't flow, but oh, here we go. So if I were to pour this right now, I would end up with something like this instead of something like this. This is the part that I tried to cast in the Silinot before, and as you can see, I've still got some scraps in here that, you know, we can, heck, reduce, reuse, recycle, people. So yeah, do not pour your Silinot when it's too hot. I'm thinking if I transfer a little bit to the ceramic in here, maybe we can. Whoa. So this is how this stuff flows out when it is super hot. And this will be good anyway to empty this out of this bottle so that I can put it into my scraps jar. If I can ever get it to stop pouring. There we go. It's a delicate process to try and get the pour to stop. All right. So here we go. Got our lovely little jar of blue stuff. And it's like I don't want to make too much of a mess, but oh well, I guess we're in it now. Tell you what. Just in case any of you guys are OCD, here's what we're going to do. I was pouring some resin earlier on a paper plate, so we can use our paper plate from earlier to cast this part. In we go. And we probably don't even need that much. Let's see if it's covered, because I cannot see in there from the angle I was pouring at. Oh yeah, that's more than covered. So that's really all we need. Heated up this whole jar for that little shot. And now this guy goes into the freezer for, you know, well, I don't know, what do you guys want to call it, like 40 minutes? How long do you want to hang out for? No, I'm just kidding with you guys. We're going to do this Food Network style. So what I'm actually going to do, I already did this earlier. So we can put that one in the oven, and we've got ourselves our clear yellow cast resin part that is going to replace that one that we just cast. I actually tinted it yellow using some of this alcohol ink, and this is it's a fairly cheap UV resin that I've been using. It's from a company called Shabebe. It's a simple 1-to-1 mixture, but one of the things that I like is that they include these little pour spout tops that make it easier to measure things out. So it was really easy to get measured, and unlike most clear resins, I'm not concerned if this turns yellow, because the whole idea was to make a yellow eye. So let's go ahead and pop it in and see how it fits. That looks like a winner chicken dinner to me. Let's see what our light production looks like. So if we bring it in close here, I've got my little tiny LED. So if we were to mount this behind the head, looks like we're going to be in good business. And I think we'll only do one. I was thinking about doing like one for each eye, but I don't think we need to. If we position it right, the plastic does or the resin, I should say, does a really good job of diffusing the light into both eyes. So now, the real question is, do we run the lights down through the body and into some kind of battery pack? And the answer is a resounding hell no. And I'm going to show you guys why here in just a second. What we're going to do is we're going to take apart our precious Gundam here. So the problem is that, of course, because this particular version of the Real Grade Gundam can come apart and launch its core fighter, we can't run any wires down from the torso into the feet because it would get disconnected. So we need to make sure that we do something that is only contained in the torso. Let's see if we can. I don't remember how this thing completely unlatches. I think there's like a latch in the back here. Something that plugs in. I want to say it was something like this little tab here. There we go. Come on. You don't have to sit on the core fighter forever. There we go. So yeah, because this thing comes apart, we are going to have a very hard time running wires through it. So everything has to be contained within this upper torso, ideally without the core fighter lodged in it. I don't know why the core fighter's stuck in there. Come on out. There we go. Look at this little baby thing. So cute. So, how are we going to wire this LED? We'll do something that goes down through the neck. That much is easy enough, right? And then, can we stash a wireless receiver in the backpack? Maybe. Here, let me angle this down so I stop getting out of camera view. So we do have like this little gap here that we can put a hole in and perhaps stash that. We need a gap that's going to be big enough to store one of these bad boys. I mean, heck, we could even really just drill a hole right here and add it to the, just add it in the middle of these pegs. That might be the way to do it. Because we don't want it to interfere with the gimmicks at all. Let's see here. Of course, now I don't even remember how I assembled the whole thing. I am glad that these parts fit nice and tightly together, though. That is a comfort. Let's see here. There we go. We can try and loosen this guy up. We'll figure out a way to get this in here. Don't you guys worry. I do need to pick out a receiver, though. The one that I've been showing off on stream has actually been broken for a while. So let's I guess it doesn't necessarily matter what color it is originally because we're going to be taking the LED off anyway. So like this, I think, is a white LED. We can, of course, test this theory, however. Maybe we can, as my induction ring is currently disassembled. Well, no matter, we'll have to soldier on. We'll end up saving this LED and using it for something else anyway, but we're going to attach the wires from this LED to that one. Probably. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what we decide to do. First, we need to find a way to disassemble this thing so that we can get our parts in. Yeah, the not so sure how I feel about the depth of this piece here now that I'm looking at it. Because I mean, that is like, what, 1/4 of a millimeter deep? And we are going to be taking this head Man, I almost wish we could fit the receiver right there in the back of the head. But it would cost us some articulation. And I'm not a fan of sacrificing articulation for no reason. What we will do is let's go ahead and drill a hole in the ball joint that's going to allow us to thread our wires through. So we're going to need this guy and probably this guy. This might be way too big of a hole. Yeah, that would probably damage the structural integrity. Let me grab a smaller drill bit. Let's see what we've got to work with here. I mean, you can see from these wires, we don't need a lot of room. I think even something like this. Perfect. So let's tighten this guy up and prepare to make our wire channel. I think I've got something here that we can... I don't trust myself to hold this part straight. This is going to be a long channel to thread in here. What's going on, Barry? Adam, good to see you guys in chat. We're just doing the slow and painful process of creating channels for our LED wires here. Ironically, it looks like there's like one of those faux plastic wires in here. And we're going to be kind of replacing it with real wires. But yeah, as you guys know, I guess it is kind of apt that I call this kind of stuff Gunpla surgery because um, my first sort of rule when it comes to making these modifications is like a doctor: do no harm. I try not to interfere with any normal functions of the model kit. Anything that will um, damage the integrity of the kit and make it so that it doesn't transform or it doesn't pose a certain way, those are typically big no-nos for me. And I have only made an exception to that rule once, and it was when I was working on the RE100 Bawu. And the reason was that the hands of the Bawu for the transformed state are supposed to come off, and it's not like they have to, but the wires that I had running down to the hands in order to power the beam sabers, it was just not going to allow me to do that comfortably. So sacrifices were made. And there we go. And honestly, if this holds it in place too, that would be just the bee's knees. Because then we don't have to do any gluing, we don't have to do anything like that. We can just assemble it. Let's see how it looks. If I can get some power to it. Oh, snap. And it lights up the top too. This project's going to turn out even better than I expected. You guys, that is freaking awesome. And like, this isn't even a crazy modification to make. Like, Bandai, just hire me, all right? Like, I will come in and kit out your models with LEDs on the cheap. I mean, like, one little hole. That's all we did, was drill one little hole in the head, and we now have. Did I have that right? Yeah, there we go. And now we have this, to quote my favorite TV show, power on. Yeah, that's awesome. So now, well, see, obviously I can't get the power to go to it. So now the next step is going to be, once we decide where we're going to put this, I need to solder the wires here onto the connection there. So let's plan on how we're going to do this. And while we make our plan, I'm going to just go ahead and plug a few things in. Just a second. All right, so that loud beep you just heard was the my hot air rework station. We're gonna get that up to temp so that we can do some soldering. And then we've got this guy, our induction ring, which, as it turns out, this was a blue light that I pulled out. This is one of my favorite things to do, is to take my box of lights and just kind of hover the ring over it. See what colors I've got. So we've got a few greens here, some whites, blues, yellows. Let's go ahead and use a yellow. Just because, well, no, you know what? Let's use a white because ultimately, like I said, it's not going to matter. Yeah. I don't like to, waste a color if I don't have to. Since we're going to be harvesting this thing. All right. Let's see. Oh, Fulcrum, what's going on? Asks, how does this kit stack up to the Master Grade RX-78 Verka? For better or worse, that was my first Gunpla kit. I couldn't tell you, honestly, because I don't have the Verka. I'm actually not a big Verka guy. I typically don't like those designs. The only Verka that I actually own is the Zeta. And even that one, I don't rate it higher than the 2.0. So, I still think that the proportions of this are better than the Verka, personally. But if you are a 1/100 scale guy, then obviously, real grades and high grades are off the table anyway. So, and then, let's see, I hear something about, I forgot to ask, what do you use to clean up Tamiya panel accent on parts? And then Barry says, Zippo fluid and a few Q-tips is easier. Yeah, Q-tips or melamine sponge, aka magic erasers, the Mr. Clean magic erasers. You can buy just the melamine sponge without the chemicals in it. I think they're like 10 to a pack on Amazon, and those actually work a lot better than Q-tips. And because they come in like a big sponge, you can cut off just as much as you need. You don't have to go through like 100 Q-tips to clean everything off. So there's a good tip. Now, let's see. So this part's easy, right? Because we actually have a pretty clear channel from the head down through the torso, and then like we can run these wires literally wherever we want. So I'm thinking the idea is we want to minimize the amount of space between the receiver and the ring, because as you can see, if we're not close enough to the ring, then we lose voltage and we're not going to get enough power to the LEDs to turn it on. These guys are really only good from about 6 inches away. So I think that installing it in the backpack is going to be the way to go. And what we can do is we can actually just drill a little hole in one of the pegs where the backpack fits in and utilize that as our channel to deliver the part into the backpack. So that is the plan. If I can remember how this thing was assembled. I do know that the beam saber handles are on this kind of neat little like spin dial, which was kind of cool to put together, honestly. I'm pretty sure that this top part is just a frame that comes off. So let's put a hole here. See, and I love this. I can be sloppy with it. I don't have to be super careful. Although threading it through this tiny hole is going to be, yeah, fun, to say the least. What I might do is put a little kink in the wire. That usually helps. Okay, come on now. Let's see what we can do. Got our wire. You know what? I think this calls for a larger hole. There we go. That'll be a lot harder to miss. I need one of those like little, what do you call that tool that you use to thread needles? Is it literally just a needle threader? Ah, there we go. Got one through. Now we just need to do our positive lead. This is clearly the most exciting part of this process. You guys thought I was going to have you waiting on the resin casted part. Nope, I did that yesterday. Oh, is that it? Maybe? Ugh, popped out. Maybe I can try and guide it in. If you guys could see me right now, I'm making the Gollum face. You know, the like, you guys know the meme. Come on, I see you. You're almost there. Man, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to twist these up. And then that way, if one goes in, they both go in. Looks like I spoke too soon. They literally split apart the second they touched. One more time here. There we go. And there are our wires. Head is reinstalled. Now, before we get into any of the soldering and stuff, we do want to test our circuit and make sure that all that jangling around with the wires didn't ruin anything. Okay, good. We are still in business. I almost drilled a hole in the wrong peg here. So let's start with the smaller drill bit. It's funny because I thought that this was only going to take like 30 minutes, but clearly I was mistaken. But that's okay because I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Suffering together is how we do it. So let's do this. I'm not even entirely sure that this opens up on the other side. But there's really only one other way for this wire to go, so. And this peg is going to be, you know, obstructed. It's not going to be visible in the final build, so it's like, doesn't really make a difference if I put a hole in it or not. I do need to crack this thing open though. This cannot, we're not going to get very far without seeing the innards here. But again, it is a testament to the design of this mobile suit that, you know, some of these parts, like, I don't even remember how I assembled them. There's like this little thing that comes out. I do remember being surprised at how frighteningly exposed the, you know, the little thrusters on the back were when I was putting it together. Oh, all right. Well, I broke my knife. That happens. There we go. Okay, so we've got some stuff to contend with in here, unfortunately. But I gotta tell you, you know, I am not overly concerned with this thing. Like, is anyone gonna miss it if I take it out? I won't. So the question is, can we fit this in place of that reactor coil and make it a literal reactor coil? It is actually going to be a functioning reactor coil instead of just a pretend one. All right, let's see. So if we take this part off, then we can perhaps just cut that thing out and replace it with my coil. Now, of course, if I were designing this like, you know, for an actual kit, like if I was going to make like some kind of conversion kit for this LED, I would probably cast this part in resin, make a copy of it, and then have that ship with the light. And then that way you could always go back to the stock part if you wanted to. But yeah, I think we can hide this little guy right there. Again, though, I'm not sure exactly where this hole lets out, so let's find that out. It goes out my finger because I'm pressing on the other side like an idiot. No. I think it's going to come out like, you know what? I can actually kind of see it there. Is that it? That is it, isn't it? Okay. All right, we have our hole. And then we're going to sort of pilot this, you know, pun intended. If the intent is to, well, maybe I can hide it behind that part then. So it'll sit up here instead of, yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Never underestimate how long the scientific process takes. Yeah, exactly. You think Temray got it right the first time? Um, Functioning sounds cool, but it would be something we, the audience, notice. Yeah, it wouldn't be anything that you would see unless you took it apart. So, but I would know it, and you know that can be painful. There we go. Ah, so you see, I can't just drill into that because that is where this is held. See, these are the things that I didn't realize. And then this part. This is the problem with this like super functional backpack. It's that it doesn't leave a lot of room for our random upgrade parts. Uh, tricky, tricky. Get that out of there. Need a slimmer knife to get in that little cavity. Let's see. Hi, Midnight Hatter. Did you get the package to start a dragon? No, I don't think I did. I didn't know I was supposed to be making a dragon. Alright, guys, I'm not sure how we're going to do this. I am a little stumped, to be honest with you. Yeah, that is the right light. I suppose I can replace this. I know I won't miss this. This is the hard point for the bazooka and the shield, right? Like, okay, so the hard point for the shield is actually this little clip here. And that's how you can position it. So, I don't think we would be missing out on much if I were to replace this with this. And then we'd have the option to swap it out if we ever burnt it out or something. So I think that is what we are going to roll with. Because otherwise, I'm not exactly sure how we would accommodate this. But I can tell you that we're going to do this. Thread the wires through in our backpack. Let's rotate this around. Plug that in. There we go. And then I guess we just need to widen this hole enough that I can mount the coil in there. So yeah, I guess we could even just do that with a hobby knife, just kind of carving it out. I might use this guy for that. Because you guys know me anyway, I'm not a big fan of stock hard points on model kits. I like to use magnets instead. I mean, this is going to take a lot longer, a lot more carving than that, but honestly, we might be able to do it a little bit more efficiently with one of these. Although I don't know if I have one that's the appropriate size that we need. Got this big honking guy. Oh. I don't want to lose my little baby drill bits. But yeah, I mean, I think that that's not going to work anyway. But yeah, I think that this will be a cool little detail that I can actually show people is like, you know, if people wanted to see how it works, I can do like an open hatch version of this where I'm like, hey, yeah, there it is. there is the LED, or at least there's where it's being powered from. I mean, is it even worth doing this, or should I just kind of like cut the whole thing out and replace it with the... If I do that, the problem is if I do that, I'm going to have to solder it first because I'm going to be using the hot air rework station. So I won't be able to do any soldering after it is attached to the plastic. So I've got a little scrap piece of silicone here. This is going to hold everything kind of in place while we're working on it. To make sure that I get anything plastic out of the way so that we don't actually accidentally melt something important. So here we go. We're blowing 350 degrees out of this guy. And what we're going to do is we're just going to try and melt the solder on this guy and take the light off of it. Oh, oh. We don't want to lose the capacitor though. Or is that a resistor? Whatever it is, we don't want to lose that. That needs to go back on. Now, most people would do this using like a microscope. We're going to put down a little thermal paste. Actually, you know what would be a good idea is before we do that, let's get that capacitor back on. Or maybe it's a resistor, like I said, not sure. But I do know that it's important and we don't want to lose it. Let's make sure that that's back on there. It is not. Okay, so we need to put some thermal paste down and get that attached. And once we do that, then we will be able to make sure that we get the right connections to the right sides. I'm gonna just put a dab there and a dab there. Oops. There we go. And we can take our little component here. We'll just nestle it right in the goop. And then we will proceed to melt it. Oop. Now, I hope that worked and it wasn't like a horrible butcher of a job. I guess we'll find out here in a second. Let's strip this. Notice I'm not going to be testing this with the light that I'm actually installing in the kit, because if I screwed something up, I'd like to know about it beforehand. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to pop this guy down right here. And to test, we will connect our LED to the sides of it and see if we get any light. So we're not getting any light that way, which to me suggests that our positive and negative are the opposite direction. Or that I completely ruined it, which is also a possibility. Yeah, probably not a good thing when the board looks like that, sloppy. Maybe hot air is not the way to go on this one. So let's do this. You might hear a little fan going as the hot air rework station cools down. Oh, wait a second. I'm not getting any light at all from this guy. We might have a different problem then. I'm glad that we tested that. Whoops. Yeah, see, I'm not getting any lights from my induction ring here. Let's see if I screwed something up. I might have bridged the connection and short-circuited it. Okay, so that one's not doing anything for me anymore. So I am going to turn off the hot air rework station. In the meantime, I can get this guy wired up and ready to use. Because it will be a very bad time if we don't know if the light is working or not. But it's like, come on, I don't want to spend my time troubleshooting troubleshooting a component that is not as important as everything else that we're doing. So I have this old iPhone wire that I just clipped to see if I could utilize it, but man, this thing is frayed to all heck. I mean, I don't know what these little fibers in here are. So give me just a moment to see if I've got something that we can use to test. Okay, so I've got my trusty little power adapter here. It's currently set to 3 volts. We can probably crank it to 5 because that's what this guy takes. And we can put in the positive and negative leads here and use it to test. So let's crank it to 5 volts. And then we've got our positive and negative side here. We are just going to take these frayed bits. I'm going to trim these back a little bit. Get these metal shavings off my desk. And if I were a smarter man, I would of course like tin these up and then I would have like a legit plug, but come on guys. You're not watching me because I'm smart. So we're going to loosen these guys up. Pop this in here. Maybe it needs to be even looser. Just pop it in a little bit like that and see if this will hold it. Yeah, that's not going to work. Everybody point and laugh at the amateur electrician. That's what we're looking for, is a nice clearance. We can get the wire all the way in. Tighten it up. This one's just so like messed up and frayed that it's like doesn't want to go in a little bit. And there we go. Now we have a new induction ring. And maybe it's just because I had it, sitting here plugged in for so long. Like, I don't know. I honestly have no idea why it stopped working for us. But this one should. So let's have a look. Unless I don't have an outlet nearby. There we go. Whoops. Well, that didn't come on, but that's okay, because that's the one that's not connected to anything. These are coming on. Alright, so bear with me, because I had to unplug my light here for a second. We're going to see if I did a decent job reattaching this or not. So far, not good. Let's try from this side. Oh, I saw a flicker there. I don't know about you guys. Yep. Sweet. Well, then this is great news, because that means that the project is not ruined. Let's see if I can get some light back on the table for us. There we go. Now I guess that means I have to plug the hot air rework station back in. Oh, it's always something. Okay. So I might have to actually postpone. Let me go ahead and do that right now. I am going to postpone the stream that I had planned for after this. We'll push that to, like, I don't know, tomorrow night or something, because I don't think I'm going to have time, you know, after this. But, you know, just bear in mind that we're going to be working on Core Zeta next time out. Let's get that guy cooking. I'm going to get a little solder paste on this guy. And it looks like, I don't know if the camera will pick this up, but the, yeah, can't pick it up on camera. But you can see, like, the little metal balls in the paste, which is kind of interesting to me, anyway. Oh, crud. Do any of you guys remember which way was positive and negative? I got so excited that it worked that I forgot to check and confirm. I'm kidding. It was this way. So this is going to be the tricky part, is delicately organizing this so that everything kind of just sits. And we want the wires to be in place. I mean, maybe if I, like, just ever so slightly dab. Oh, see, that's what we can't have. That's what we can't have happen. Let's see here. And normally I would consider using, well, let's see if we can't do that. Let's try, instead of doing this, we will get out the little solder station. Out of the way, Char. Oh, see, he just wants to mess this up for me. So I would typically use this for soldering, you know, typically, yeah, I would have like my little board and everything here, but with the rework station, it doesn't work out quite as well. So let's see if we can't make it work for us. Oh man, I think it just smeared solder paste all over the place. Just gonna apply a little bit more paste to the just so you guys can see what I'm doing here. I'm gonna add just a dab. Sorry for bumping the camera so frequently. The only thing I don't want to do is bridge those connections, right? That is all we are trying to avoid. And let's pop that there. I'm just gonna turn this guy around. And the idea will be to position the RX-78 so that we are, man, what's up with the glare on the camera? Ever since I turned it back on, it's like, so if we sort of angle the part downwards, maybe we can use some of that force to hold the wires in the solder paste while I'm using the rework station to melt it down. And I don't mind if I have to hold one of the wires, but I can't hold 3 wires and the I think this is gonna work. All right. Yep, yep, yep. So the hot air kind of blew the inductor out of the way. Kind of messed up everything. Okay, let's see if we can't like arch these cables a little bit. All right, let's see if this works here. I think we might have some success here. Let's take a look. Yeah. Now there's only one way to find out if it actually worked. Get rid of our little solder station. Going to grab our induction ring and plug it back in. Moment of truth, everybody. Let's see if I am really as bad as I crack up to. Oh, jeez. Alright, let's do this part first. See if I'm as bad as I cracked myself up to be. And there we go. I don't know if you guys can see it, but we have lights. No lights. Lights. So this is awesome. I mean, mission accomplished, I would say. So now the next part is going to be getting it hidden inside that backpack. But you saw what I mean, like that. I definitely could not have done that, like if it were wedged inside the plastic, blowing hot air directly onto it. But now that that is in there, I'm thinking that we should just come in and take this off. The real Project V is me cutting a V opening in here to stuff this LED. But yeah, hopefully now you guys see why I don't usually do this with real grades. Is almost every problem that we are attempting to solve for would have been so much easier to deal with in a high grade where we don't have like the inner frame to worry about and all that. And it's all the more reason that I'm sad about the discontinuation of the RE100 line, since they're basically giant high grades. It's like, and I don't know, I might run a poll during this week's stream, or like this week's live show, rather. You know, how many people actually do open hatch displays on their Gunpla? I know I am not a big open hatch guy. What I'm gonna do is try and stuff these wires back down in there. I think I left myself too much extra, but honestly, I think it would have been a disaster if I had tried to solder this while there was like much less wire. Jeez. Um, I'm trying to think of like anywhere else I can kind of tuck extra wires in. I mean, it's good that there's a lot of slack, you know, in the sense that we're not going to accidentally break the wires off, but it's bad in the sense that now it doesn't have a place to go. And I definitely don't want to break it. Yeah, see, that's what I was afraid of. Is that I broke it off of the induction coil. So maybe we're not quite done yet. Maybe there's some work to do on this piece. Yeah, because I'm not going to be able to get this to close up if it's got all those wires in there. Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's already getting blocked. Yeah, we're going to have to do something about all that. We will figure it out, though. I'm in too deep now. The gunpla has been cut. Oops. Yeah, the thing does not want to close with those wires in it. And it's not even just because it's sticking out, it's because of this right here, that little extra space. So it's like I need to just go ahead and cut this back too. Give it a little snip snip here. Yeah, what is it bumping up against that it's not going all the way in? Or maybe that is all the way in, and I'm just being ridiculous. Like if this part were on there. Oh, let's take the shield off. If this part were on. Oh, yeah, that's as closed as it goes. Okay, so we're in good shape. So I just need to come in, resolder the positive lead to our induction coil. Oop. Launch the Gunpla into my lap, and then we'll be back in business. I don't think I'm going to do the hot air rework station again, though. I think that was probably my downfall. I think what we're going to do is we're going to cut these wires down and resolder them like a man. And then we'll be able to stuff everything inside. Go. Yeah, I mean, I'll still need to cut all this stuff out to just make room for it. And that's okay. We can do that. But all things considered, I think that I have clearly illustrated that it is not only possible, but it's actually relatively easy. If you don't bork things up like I do, it is relatively easy to install a wireless LED unit. And I was about to show it off, but then I was like, oh, well, yep, it's not working anymore. Here you go. Since Dan just popped in the chat, we're going to do this just to showcase that this thing actually works. We're going to make it a wired LED again, just for illustrative purposes. And there we go. The finished product. Even the backlight's up too, which is surprising. Let me see if I can. Let's kill this light. The backlight's up, which is super cool. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I mean, yeah, we've got some work to do, but overall, this is a pretty successful installation. And so there you go. I am going to take off for the evening. Like I said, I was planning on doing a little bit more work on the core Zeta, but you know, we kind of ran out of time, kind of went over time working on this this LED project, unfortunately. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it. You know I enjoy every time that I get to play with LEDs. In fact, one of the things that we're doing with the core Zeta at the moment is installing an LED in the head. Do I have it handy? We're actually using the same wireless LED unit. It's just a green one. And let's see if I've got the parts that I can show it off, or if they're not handy. They might not be handy because I was waiting on the faceplate to cure. So I did the same thing, honestly. I took the faceplate from the Zeta and cast it in the Silanot putty, and then took green alcohol ink, the same way that we did with the eyepiece from the Real Grade 2.0, and cast a new faceplate that was all clear green, and painted the painted the mouth and like, the vents and everything white, and then painted the inside of the helmet black so that it doesn't so that we don't get light pollution coming through the white plastic. And it looks fantastic. Because there's no way that I was going to cram any kind of LED wires into this tiny little core Gundam. So yeah, we'll pick up on that tomorrow. And until then, hope you guys had a great weekend, and we will catch you later. Cheers.